Hey, hello. Welcome to Station 2, the Mystery Lab Powder Activity.
So you're going to get started with writing down your learning goal, which is students will be able to identify whether data is qualitative or quantitative or both in order to explain the types of evidence collected in this lab investigation.
You're going to do this on page 4 of your station packet. If you don't have a packet, be sure that you're asking for one. You're also going to work in partners. So maybe you already have somebody that you want to work with, but maybe you don't. So it's super easy if you need to find a partner. I don't know who this is, so I'm going to go up and be like, "Hi, my name is Thomas. Will you be my partner?"
Yes, I would love to be your partner, Thomas.
Nice. Now we're partners. Perfect. So you'll be with a partner and copy down that learning goal.
The next thing for you to do is you're going to gather all of your materials. So here we have made a lovely checklist for you, and let's go through the checklist. So the first thing you're going to need to gather is this well plate. You're going to need one per group. Then you're going to need to gather the plastic spoons. Ooh. Now there's 4 plastic spoons labeled A, B, C, and D.
Nice.
These are materials that are going to be shared amongst everyone at the table group, not just between you and your partner.
See. You'll also have 2 dropper bottles. So you're going to see one labeled vinegar and one labeled water. And to finish it, we also have to have powders for us to actually test. So we are going to have 4 of those. You'll see they're also labeled A, B, C, and D. These are also shared amongst all of the partners, so be sure that you are moving them around and allowing everybody to get the materials that they need.
And last thing that we want to make sure that we do, you want to grab a tray to do your experiment on. This is to keep things clean. It's not on the checklist, but you need to make sure you grab one.
Okay. So any kind of other safety reminders, right? Any of our materials, this is with any kind of activity, we want to handle them with care. We want to try to not make a mess. That's what the tray is going to help us with. Only use however much you need. There's way more powder in here than you need. So be sure you're just using as much as can fit in you actually need for the experiment. And you're sharing. So go ahead and wait your turn. Share the materials as needed. And finally, we want to keep everything nice and orderly. You don't want to mess up your experiment. So do not mix any of these powders or your spoons. That's why they are labeled.
Nice. So now we're going to go to step 3, which is how we're going to follow this procedure to actually do the experiment. The first thing that you're going to do is open one of your powders. I grabbed the powder labeled C. You can do it in any order. And on the well plate, there's 2 places for C to go. So I'm just going to take a small amount of powder, and I'm going to place that in the well plate labeled C.
Perfect. And you can see just how much you're going to need. Let me hold this so we don't drop it. Can we see that? I think so. So you only need a really small scoop.
We'll add a picture in post.
Yeah, there'll be a picture also so you can see. But you only need a small scoop.
Okay, then you're going to do that for the remaining amount of your powders. I'm going to put a little bit of, oh, I just did C.
I already did C. Let's do
A.
Yeah. We're using the spoon labeled A for powder A. Great. Then we would do...
Covering back.
Nice. Always putting the cap back on so we don't make a mess. And we're going to do that. We would repeat that for B, C, and D. We already did C, but you see what I mean. At this point, now we want to make our first set of observations, where we think about what do the powders actually look like. So if you want to go to the table, you can see that you have at the bottom of the page a table for you to put all of your observations. So this is this second column. What does it look like? So I'd look at the powders and describe them. What color do they have? What's their shape? What's their texture? Is it really powdery? Does it seem rough like sand?
Does it clump together?
Mm-hmm.
So these are your observations you'll make in this column.
Perfect. we go back to the...
Oh, hot cross buns.
There we go.
We made it.
So now you're going to grab your droppers, right? So now we're going to add 2 drops of water to each powder. You have 2 rows. So I'm just going to do this on the top row, and that'll be my water. Test 2 drops. Okay.
Thank you for Mix Diaz for putting the cap back on.
You're welcome. Great. So I dropped it in. Again, picture and post if you need. Dropped the water in, and we can make our observations again in that middle column now. So what happens when we put in water? Does the powder fully dissolve? Does it disappear? Are there bubbles? Does it change color? These are all questions that you can answer to think about. What are you seeing as the water goes in?
Okay. Then you're going to go to your final step, which is you're going to add vinegar to that second row, 2 drops of each one. Bloop, 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 bloop. And I put the cap back on. Wow, movie magic. Then we're going back to our observation table, and we're going to put what do we see happen. Same thing. Does it soak up? Do we see a change of color? Is there bubbles? And then once you finish filling out this entire chart, then you're almost done. We just kind of wanted to go through a cleanup procedure with you all. So please, again, make sure that the tops are put on your cups. The red caps are back on. And then everything is placed neatly back into the plastic bins. And we will add a picture to show you what that looks like as well.
Perfect. So once you've all done with the cleanup, you can start to look at your post-activity question. What type of data did you just collect? Was it qualitative, quantitative, maybe a mix of both? We've added some sentence starters here to get your thinking going. So you might think the type of data collected was what? I know this because of this. How do you know? What makes the data qualitative? What makes the data quantitative?
All right, well, that's all for Station 2. Happy experimenting.
See ya.